Hello YouTube and welcome to Working Class Education. My name's Devin, your left-handed Polish factory worker, and today we're going to talk about how to properly read and use a micrometer. This is my Starrett case. As you know, I like to use cases for my precision instruments, but this is a micometer. I like the Starrett case better. You can see I modified it. I had to cut a little bit of the foam out, and I put tape on there just so there's not metal-to-metal contact. It works well. So keep your precision instruments in a case. This is a micrometer. Much like we talked about the calipers, your measuring surfaces are what you need to think about. Keep them clean, keep them precise. So the very first thing you do, and obviously, see I got a lot ways to go, here's how you move it really quickly. Don't spin it around, that'll really damage it, or could. So you just take a piece of paper, very quickly, and this has a slip fit or a slip thing. It doesn't have a ratchet. See how it's still turning and this isn't? So you just slide that paper, make sure that is on 0. That is on 0, you mean you're clean, you're good. This is your anvil, this is your mandrel, I believe. And notice how there's a slight discoloration on the end of that. That means that's carbide at the end. Making it harder and more resistant to wear, but they still can wear, so just check them. So, measure your part. I got my part in a vise. Especially with these things, it's kind of hard to just measure them one-handed. It's not like a caliper where you clamp on stuff. So, I got my vise here. I'm measuring, this is a small diameter part here, so it's easy to get the widest part of that circle or diameter. If you had a bigger part, you'd start on the back end of it, and then if you can't get it out, then you're not big enough, you know what I mean? And you just get it so it holds it. And see how I'm just very gently. And then this locks it. So that we measured our part, we locked it down, we're good to go. Our part was clean, our surfaces were clean, we were square, we get it tight but not too tight, we didn't clamp down on it. This is not a C-clamp. That's an old machinist joke. So, a good teacher once taught me how to read these correctly. Focus. There we go. Getting better, guys. Dollars, quarters, and pennies. So, dollars without a decimal point, just write a dollar. And then quarters are like this. No decimal points, but you still write them in the correct place. And then pennies. So dollars, quarters, pennies, right? So forget all this for now. I mean, don't forget it, but we're going to take an actual... Come on. There. So what am I looking at? So these big numbers here are dollars. So that's $1, $2. These small numbers here, oops, darn it, that's not good. These small lines here, ignore this little tiny line here is halfway between $1 and $2, but ignore that for now. For what we're talking about is these smaller lines down here are quarters. So I don't know if you can read this. So there's 1 quarter, 2 quarter, 3 quarter, so, or 25, 50, 75. So our measurement, we read from the edge of this barrel here. We are past $1, we're past $2, we're not past $3, so we write down here, remember? So write $2, without a decimal, but write it correctly. Oops, sorry guys. And then we look at these. So we're at $2 and we can see one of those marks. We can't see 2. If we could see 2, it'd be 25.50, but we can only see 1, so that's 25, right? 1 quarter is 25 cents. So remember, dollars, quarters, and then you look at where are we on the barrel. And again, what are we past? We're going not, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We're not to 15. We're past the 14, but we're not the 15. So whatever number you're past, not, if that's confusing, I don't know, you're going up in numbers, but this line here is past the 14, so that's 14 pennies. Remember, dollars, quarters, pennies. We did the dollars, $2, quarters, one line, that's 1 quarter, so $2, 1 quarter, and this barrel here shows us the actual pennies, 14 pennies, right? Okay, well, this one has an additional, it goes down to 0.1 of a penny, or a tenth of a thousandth. 1/10,000th, we call it a tenth in machinist talk. This is called a vernier scale. So once you got all this figured out, then if you want to, you can get more accurate and ignore these numbers up here. Just look at these numbers here, and all you're doing is finding the line that best matches up. You might not find one that'll match up perfectly, but you usually can. I don't know how well you can see, but basically what I'm looking at, maybe the 4 or the 5. See how that 4 lines up perfectly, the 3 doesn't quite line up perfectly, the 5 doesn't quite line up. It's basically the 4, which makes a lot of sense because we're almost halfway in between the 14 and 15, so that would be, so over here, you know, these are my tenths of 4, okay? So then we add all this up. So there's a 4, right? What's 5 plus 4 is 9. Simple math here, guys. 3, 2. Then we put our decimal right here, because this is a 0 to 1 inch mic. It will never have anything over 1 inch. It could have 1 inch, but then you should be using like a 1 to 2 inch mic. So this will never have anything over 1 inch, so your decimal point is always going to go over here. And in fact, every micrometer, your decimal point goes in front of your reading, and then you just add whatever you start with. So that's 0, you add 0. If this was a 1 to 2 inch mic, you'd put a 1. If it was a 2 to 3 inch mic, you'd put a 3, etc., etc. So, in a nutshell, that's how you read them. Remember, dollars, quarters, I really need to get a better camera, don't I? There you go. Quarters and pennies. And then if you want to get more accurate, so these are thousands. That's pretty much as accurate as you want to be or need to be. But if you need to measure, is it closer to 39 or 40? Well, there's another place right there. You could say it's 239 thou and 4/10. If you're shooting for something with a really tight tolerance of tenths, this is what you're needing to use. Or actually, if you're shooting with something with a plus or minus 1 thou, so if this was 239 and I had it to be 240, well, I know I'm good because I'm not 238 or 239 0. I'm over that 239. So, in a nutshell, that is how you use micrometers. They're a little more precise, a little more accurate, a little less versatile than the calipers, but definitely an essential tool. It does take a little practice to feel, so just practice. That's all you do. You'll look like an idiot if once you start using it, but you know, somebody taught me, and I had the vise here, but you know, let's see if I can, if you didn't have the vise, if you just had a part, you kind of hold it with your ring, pinky, finger, whatever. I can't do it very well. And you notice how I am doing this right-handed? You know, my joke is always that I'm the Polish left-handed factory worker. Well, I always got crap for being left-handed because the world is right-handed. And I can do a lot of things left-handed, or I can accommodate things that are made for right-handed to be left-handed, but sometimes you just have to learn how to do it right-handed. And that was always my point, is it doesn't matter if you're left or right-handed. You learn how to do it with your right hand because there's no other way to do it, and it's not that big of a deal. You know, I don't feel like I'm writing with my right hand because I've never learned how to use this thing with my left hand. Does that make sense? So if it's always been in your right hand, it's not a big deal, guys. You just do it. So there again, I'm on the widest part, you know. Make sure it slides out. That's not how you know it's big enough. So now I'm at let's do it again. Ooh, here we go. This is perfect, actually. Yeah, and I did machine that to be right. So damn, that's good. So again, we're at dollars. $1, 2, 3, 4, $5. And again, if you're confused if it's over the 5 or under the 5, well, if it was at 24, it would be 4 and whatever, you know, almost 5. But it's right at the 0, then it's at 5. If it goes to the 1, it's over 5. So I would say that is almost dead nuts. Let's go back to our chart here. $5. And what do we say, pennies? I'm going to say that's 0. And then let's go over to our vernier scale. Hopefully that'll focus for you guys. I'm going to look at it without the camera. We want it to be on 0. I think it is. So that 0 pretty much lines up. So there's 0. So that's 5,000 point. That's what this part measures. Anyway, sorry for the long video. In a nutshell, that's how you read micrometers. Again, don't skimp out on micrometers. A good, 60 bucks, I think I got this used on eBay. You might be able to find them cheaper. This one's, Michitoyo, made in Japan. It's even got this cool, decimal equivalency thing. What's 25/64? Well, that's 0.3906, stuff like that.